All right, we're going to God was the Word. It's a biblical quote. We're going to go John uh, chapter 1, verse 1 through 5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came to be through him, and without him nothing came to be. What came to be through him was life, and this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Uh, I have a separate chapter where I point out that the Apostle Paul took this took this information or manufactured this information to make Jesus God. Um, but anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. I'm just going to read the quote because it says God, the Word was God. In John 1:14, and the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, and we saw his glory, the glory as the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. Then Luke 1:37, for no word came from God will ever fail. I don't know why I have that there, but then God creates everything with words. Genesis chapter 1, Jeremiah 31, uh, chapter 31, verse 31 through 35, and Hebrews 1, chapter 1, verse 3. I didn't spell them out, but if you need to, you can go look them up. Um, all right, if we found primitive humans in a remote location on Earth that had no contact with our modern world and told them that there were voices, music, and images all around them, they would question our proposal or think these transmissions were the voices of spirits, ancestral or otherwise. Modern technology has produced a situation where almost all the particles in the Earth's atmosphere are involved in the transmission of words, images, and sounds and other sounds. They're all around us. There's radio waves processed through wireless communications, traveling through the particle vibrations of walls uh, and other so-called solid objects to be received by our radios, satellite dishes, and cellular phones. Almost everywhere in our world, there are coded versions of conversations and images that continuously pass through our bodies and the space around us. We do not hear or see these conversations, images, or sounds without the aid of mechanical reception devices because our eyes and ears are not tuned into the proper frequency or cannot decipher the transmitted codes. We also may not be tuned into the frequency of intuitive guidance from other sources. Because one wireless phone in a crowd of millions receives a call from someone does not mean all of the other people in this crowd will receive the same call. An individual may receive intuitive information that only they can access in the same way that only the telephone that is programmed with uh, dot 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 question mark XYZ phone number will receive the call from the caller. So you have to have the right connection in order to receive the phone call. Otherwise, you're not going to receive it. When prophets and individuals claim to hear the voice of God or personal intuitive guidance that no one else hears, it does not mean that this prophet or individual did or does not hear the voice. We're not saying they have, we are exposing that it is possible that one person in a crowd could hear the voice of God, or hear the voice of the omniverse, or get intuitive guidance that the whole rest of the crowd may not get because they may be tuned into the proper channel or frequency to be able to hear it. The imperceptible human generated transmissions of conversations words, sounds, and images also exposes the potential for the presence of alternate universes, ghosts, spirits, extraterrestrials, angels, demons, etc. So because we have a bunch of images from newscasters and movie stars and uh, documentaries on nature shows of elephants and uh, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, that are floating around in the air around us through conversations that are going on. Millions of conversations, maybe even billions of conversations and images are being passed around the airwaves here. And if you have the right receiver, right radio, right satellite dish pointing in the right direction, you can pick it up. Uh, and because that exists, that because humans have made it, and humans have been made by their creator, the omniversal God. So the creator of humans uh, is behind whatever humans create. Uh, Let me go back here. The imperceptible human-generated transmissions of conversations, words, sounds, and images also exposes the potential for the presence of alternate universes, ghosts, spirits, extraterrestrials, angels, demons. Much may be, and is going on all around us without our conscious knowledge or perception due to the limitations of our senses and scientific exploratory instruments. Humans guided uh, and guide or have guided uh, the movements of Mars rovers, Spirit and Opportunity from Earth at varying distances between 110 to 200 million miles away, depending on the orbital locations of Earth and Mars. When the Earth is on one side of the Sun and Mars is on the other, the distance is greater. When they're aligned in the same same space, they get closer. Um, we create we create the Mars rovers and other spacecrafts through thoughts converted into word-directed labor to build these machines, and then we direct their activities with thoughts converted into words, and then again coded into transmitted signals. Our creative intelligence is a product of our atomically charged omniverse, or Spirit of God, and can therefore be said that the omniversal Spirit has created and is communicating with and moving these rovers through us. We are using the energy or spirit of the omniverse God to create, send, communicate with, and move machines millions of miles away. We are being created as we create. Therefore, our creations are the creations of omniversal energy or the Spirit of God or God. Every particle of our body came from, is now, and will continue to be part of the omniverse or God. If the omniverse God produces humans that can send and receive voices, music, pictures, and information through satellite, radio, television, wireless phones, and the open air, right here, all around us in this living moment, then the producer or creator of man can send, receive, and be the Word. We can see the possibility that statements made 2,000 to 3,500 years prior to today's electronic communication technologies have some very interesting connections with 21st century knowledge and unusually perceptive insights for those times. God speaking from the sky, a cloud, a fire, another person, or anywhere else is within the realm of reason, since man was himself a manifestation, product, or creation of the omniverse or atomic energy or omniversal energy uh, or God is sending words, music, sounds, directions, and images all around our world 24 hours a day, even to fire and objects commonly known as solid, using forms of light. When this God was the word, quotation, and the others used in this writing were spoken and believed, there was little scientific support for them. Humans can send the lifelike moving images and words of actors, newscasters, and politicians all over our world at the same time. The images of these people can be seen in any place that the satellite or radio transmissions can reach, which is most places in our atmosphere and beyond. Therefore, if an actor can be in many places at the same time, the possibility that Jesus and God's words can be in many places or all places at the same time is possible. Jesus was called the Word of God. According to what we now have written in the New Testament, Jesus has been considered God's Word in the flesh. God's message of returning to loving God in all with everything we have, all our faculties, without getting caught up in the idolatry or distractions of loving limited individual people, places, and things more than God in all, was voiced through Jesus. Jesus represents God's calling us to wake up and remember or return to loving union with God in all, with all our faculties. Jesus is a messenger from God, for God. There is a high probability that the source of the human creativity that can send words and images all around our world can also send words, images, and intuitive guidance throughout the infinite omniverse. Every creative word that we have thought, written, or spoken is a creation of the omniverse. Everything we do, think, create, or say has its source in omniversal energy or God. When we hear a sound or feel the effects of typical sound waves, this is the movement in all open directions of one group of particles from a remote location that in turn vibrates, that has been vibrated, and uh, and that it, yeah, in turn vibrates a larger set of particles outward in all directions that do not resist these sound waves until the effects from this particle motion or sound source reaches our bodies and affects the particles in and around us. It is particularly acute in the mechanisms of the hearing-capable ear. This process of sound transmission is another easily experienced example that shows just how intimately related we are with our environment, the omniverse, or God. Every sound that we hear or feel from nearby or distant sources is a reminder of our intimacy with our world. Observe your current connections with remote sounds and how these sounds bridge the space between you and the source of that sound. All human senses and perceptions are living examples that we can use to experience our interconnectedness with the atomically charged omniversal energy or spirit of God if we remain conscious of this living experience. Harmonious loving union with this interconnectedness is the pathway to earthly euphoria and the fulfillment of useful and non-sectarian religious obligations. Some particle vibrations from music that we enjoy lead us to want to consciously or unconsciously immerse ourselves into harmonious loving union with the omniversal God, with or without knowledge of what we are doing on the particle level. Sounds that are not agreeable to us can cause the opposite reaction or repulsion as we want to move away to regain harmony. Listen quietly for a moment or two, a sincere apology to the reader who cannot hear with their ears. You are sure to hear the vibrations of birds singing, chirping, wind whirling around tree branches and other objects, raindrops landing, and or the effects of mechanical motion and other sounds from a variety of different sources traveling through the air, walls, and other obstacles, and moving the mechanisms in your ear. In the case of more amplified sounds, The windows may vibrate or break, and you may feel them in other parts of the body. Explosions from fireworks and during wars can be felt sometimes fatally or cause deafness. Shocking sound waves from powerful sources moving through air can move buildings or mountains. Thought precedes almost all our actions, activities, and human-made creations. Every chair, table, computer, book, CD, TV, wire, house, car, road, wheel, pyramid, a pottery item, stitch of clothing, etc., was a thought or idea before it came to be composed as it is. In most cases of material developments, thoughts are translated into words, and then words or directions are given to the builder to finish the process, complete the thought. Thoughts precede our going to the grocery store or searching for food in the jungle, forest, or plains. Um, yeah, so thoughts. We can gather together items and think about how to build something or make something or come up with prototypes by using materials from around our world. And we can compile them, compose them uh, into objects or things or houses or buildings, bridges, boats and ships and cars and machinery and computers and telephones and paintings and colors. And we can compose things. We can take our thoughts and words and put them together, gather material, go to the store and ask for certain things, or have somebody give us directions of what they want for dinner, and we can go take those words and go and gather materials to make the dinner. We're doing microcosm. We're using the creativity of the omniverse of God to compose things as God would have composed things on Earth and in the universe, in the omniverse, with the material that God had access to compose them um, with parts of God, atomic energy. Um, and we are little children of God, composing things, putting things together, using words to gather these things. Let me continue as a little side note. Let me continue. Many words and much labor are involved in constructing raw materials into man-made objects. There is mining, harvesting, chemistry, smelting, measuring, cutting, design, drafting, drilling, machining, assembling, packaging, marketing, loading, travel and delivery, stocking, purchasing, installing, and the manufacture of the machinery and tools to perform many of these and other processes that involve many areas of concerted communication with words. Um, so we're using words to orchestrate and create or fabricate, put things together. Uh, look around you. Uh, look around you. Uh, if you are reading this material from a book or computer, then you are or listening to this, you are uh, then you are observing a media delivering instrument produced through many words. And if you are in a human-made environment, whether it be the middle of a large city or in your office, bedroom, kitchen, or car, it is certain that you will find yourself surrounded by creative works that have an elaborate network of word-directed labor, design, materials, and parts in them, while you are sheltered under the roof of thought-developed materials that have words to describe them. Whether you live in a tent or a palace, someone had to think it into its current form, either individually or collectively, for many years, as in the airplane, computer, and electricity. If humans can create through thoughts converted into words, then how much more would the source of the thinking human be able to create in this manner? All human creations are the creations or products of the source of humanity. And humanity could not create anything without that source, uh, which is the omniverse or God. Therefore, the omniverse or God creates through word-directed labor through us. And since we are composed of omniversal material, we can simply say that the omniverse creates through word-directed labor. We can use this line of thinking to say that the omniversal God has created all human civilizations with all that is and has been developed and constructed throughout human history with the use of words. Omniversally sourced human intelligence, intelligent design, creation, rearrangement. Everything that humans build or create is built or created by the omniverse or God. A conversation with words can be held within the mind as well as with other human-made communication devices without the need for human vocal cords. Many of us assume that the only communications that we can understand and or interpret are spoken by human vocal cords in a language that we are familiar with. There are millions of vocal and verbal communications going on all around you and even in and through you at this moment that are broken down into codes that are only decipherable by the electronic devices that are designed to receive and or interpret them, and or the individuals that understand the language or codes. This writing is an adventure using words. Every living thing may communicate with some form of words in a similar manner that two computers communicate with each other silently, or transmitted sounds are silent until received, converted, and amplified. Plants and animals without our vocal cords may, and probably do, communicate with each other in a language not yet completely deciphered by humans. Humans are said to be deciphering some of these languages. Our physical similarities with the rest of the animal kingdom would lead us to consider the possibility that if we were tuned into the language frequency of a plant or animal, that we would be able to understand their language as in finding and using a theoretical Rosetta Stone of the animal kingdom. This may apply to the so-called non-living world that always surrounds us. Humans have creative intelligence and are part of this atomically charged infinite omniverse. Therefore, there is creative intelligence in the omniverse. Everything that humans think and create is a creation of their source and sustainer, the omniverse of God. The atomically charged omniversal energy or spirit of God is the source of all creativity and is to be credited with all human creativity and or inventions, including your ability to read this right now. Every act, creative or otherwise, that you have done, are doing, or will do has its source and sustenance in or from the omniverse or God. You are a representative of the energy of the omniverse or God. You are a child of God, a child of the omniverse, uh, what, whether you like it or not. Or let's see, read the thing as it's written. You are a child of the omniverse or a child of God, whether you are willing to be aware of this fact or not. Because humans are creators, therefore the omniverse is a creator through us. From another perspective, if we cling to words and slogans intended to direct us to love while not putting them into practice, we may be like a child walking around with a pacifier in their mouth who is chronically hungry, or someone trying to eat a menu for the nutrition that the items listed would provide, or eating a medical prescription instead of the medicine for a cure, or like someone clinging to the boat that was intended to take them to the other side of a river. Words are a vehicular representative used to communicate between beings. They are not a permanent resting place. Because we speak words about something does not mean that we have accomplished that something. Parrots, politicians, religious persons, and their leaders, actors, bankers, and others who talk for a living can be taught to speak or memorize words. I can speak words and not practice what I preach. Parroting every word from an entire ancient archaic religious text does not mean you are in loving harmony with the omniverse or God, and it may be an interference. Is the memorizing the Quran or the Bible um, may be an interference because you're so focused on the words and the verses, chapter and verse, that you fail to act on those things. You fail to, which I see all the time. I see loads of preachers and characters online who are speaking words and have memorized quotes, and they can quote every chapter and verse in the Bible or the Quran or the Old Testament, New Testament, or what some politician said. You can repeat every thing that some scientist said, but they're not living it out. They're not they're not breathing. They're not connected with their creator. They don't have an intimate, loving relationship with their creator. They don't know who the creator is. They don't know who God is. And they don't know what love is. And they're not applying it to their life every day in the work of their life. Uh, they're going after uh, fame and fortune, and they forgot the most important thing is to be in love with your creator, love with your world in a loving way, not a idolatrous or materialistic form. Uh, parroting every word from an entire ancient archaic religious text does not mean you are in loving harmony with the omniverse or God, and it may be an interference. A peace sign is not peace, the word love is not love, and the words harmonious loving union with the omniverse or God are only words until they are lived. A finger pointing at the moon is a finger, and not the moon nor a lunar landing. Avoid making idols or dead symbols of spiritual or medicinal prescriptions intended as guides to a destination, not destinations in themselves. Once the words have been digested, this is taking in. This is the sacrament of the body and blood of Jesus. Uh, ingesting and digesting Jesus' message to return to loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. This is something you have to ingest these words, His word, His narrow gate, ingest those, and then have them come to life within you. And then they're no longer words. Now you're in love. You're feeling love. You're experiencing euphoria of heaven on earth. You're experiencing the love. You're not just talking about it. You're breathing. You've got your intimate connection with your creator, your umbilical cord. You accept your umbilical cord. You're not holding your breath and coming up with reasons why you should deny the life that you're in, where you are, whether you were born rich or poor, or in the desert, or in the in the Arctic, or in a jungle, or out in the plains. Um, you accept you're being created, you're being put where you are, and you learn to love your life and your past, and accept your past, and accept your present, and learn to love into the future, so you accept your future also. Uh, And God, God within you is guiding you towards harmony. So accept that guidance and seek harmony. Find the harmony, find the euphoria and love. Breathe. Allow your body, your being within you wants you, compels you to breathe, whether you like it or not. Um, I suppose people would just, uh, they weren't compelled to breathe. They might just hold their breath and just go around thinking until they did die. Once the words have been put into action to produce the resultant goal, the products become living examples of those words. If words are not living, they can be a form of idolatry, like making a plaque with the word love and hanging it on the wall and sitting there worshiping the plaque or worshiping, putting the words of loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, putting it in around a bracelet on your hand, and then worshiping the bracelet instead of living actually forming and absorbing those words. Learning how to breathe love, learning how to be connected with your Creator, learning how to accept and love your Creator, love your life in its simplest form. It doesn't need a bunch of excessive material items around it. We need basic shelter, food, water, shelter, um, protections from the elements. Um, Once the words have been put into action to produce the resultant goal, the products become living examples of those words. If words are not living, they can be a form of idolatry. The name Jesus is not Jesus or his message of returning to loving God completely with all our faculties. The name of Jesus should be, and I believe, was intended to be synonymous with loving God with all our faculties or being, uh, or the conscious gateway to God through love. And Jesus' name should definitely be a representation of his message. Uh, and if you, you need to go through that message. Jesus' message, you have to pass through that narrow gate. You have to pass through Jesus' message. Any other message is a antichrist. It's a misguiding, thinking that if you win the mile run or the marathon or you lift more weight or you achieve a certain financial number in your bank account, those are all misguidances. There's certain values in having money to pay for your food, pay for your shelter. So there's an assumption that lots of money is what will give you peace and harmony. But no, there's a flip side of that, and that's entering into your love center and becoming in harmony with the world you live in. That is the ultimate success, and that's what all these other uh, fame and fortune and standing in the ring. I always want to be light heavyweight champion of the world, and I want to stand with the with the belt holding up and having a whole crowd cheer for me and love me. And I was looking for love on the outside. Uh, this is a mistake because even as if I held the belt up one day, the belt would be taken from me the next day, or the next week, or next year. I would age and become, I wouldn't be loved by people, all people. I'd have people criticizing me from the outside. Some people are going to criticize heavyweight champions throughout history. They're going to be for them or against them, the greatest, the best. But that's all a waste of time. It's all frivolous activities, pursuing love from the outside, being an actor, being a famous politician, being all seeking power or control. But going inside, everyone can achieve this. Everyone can achieve this inner success. Everyone can be the best they can be by immersing into love with the world around them, and they can have that love everywhere they go. Uh, and that's what our being, that's what the God within us is driving us to do. It's guiding us towards that, and that unification, reunification. It's not really a reunification. course, it's a awareness. It's a reminder, remembering to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Because yeah, the name of Jesus should be, and I believe was intended to be, synonymous with loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, being a conscious gateway to God through love. Words in the form of spiritual, rational, and/or psychological messages, if they have not been corrupted by errant human misinterpretations, can be directions on how to live if we are not currently following our own inner intimacy with natural law of harmonious loving union. These directions can be practiced until the words are no longer the object of life and love they lead to. Words will be placed in the memory when we immerse into harmonious loving union with all in the omniverse of God. Words can be used to learn and teach. Words are not a resting place. External human law is no longer necessary for individuals or groups that live harmonious loving union with all in the omniverse. Yes, because if you're loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength in everything, omniversally, omnipresently, then you're no longer going to consciously and willingly hurt or injure anything that you're loving. And since you love all, you're not going to injure, hurt, violate any. Uh, so that's the end of this little chapter. I'm going to go on and get some more chapters on God as omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, creator, and sustainer of all. I'll use some biblical or maybe even a couple of Quranic quotations, and maybe some Bhagavad Gita quotations to indicate that the monotheistic triad is talking about a omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient creator and sustainer of all, God. Uh, all right. This is had my dad I used to say, give him the peace sign, and he used to turn it around because he was in World War II, and I guess this meant victory. And so then I come up with also, this is supposedly means love. So I would give him I had a little humor in it. I give him a peace sign, say peace, uh, uh, peace, love, victory, and more love. Of course, in my household, giving a finger was a comic act. There was a lot of amusement with that. So anybody who gets offended by that, please don't find some humor in it. All right, later.